Sweep ESM for CME sellers at 50 to 45. Sweep ESM for CME sellers at 5,248.5.
All right, good morning. We are Wednesday, April 3rd, and the market just opened at
Sweep
6:30.
ESM for CME sellers at 5,249.25.
Let me put my correct mic in here. All right, so it's 6:30. Market open on Wednesday, April 3rd. A lot of news today. If we look up, market's already moving. I cleared out my DOM. Good amount of ticker tape going on. Good amount of volume yesterday. There's been a lot of good big moves during market close. Yesterday we came into this level of the 5240s 38 and found support. Let's take a look at that. So we found support. That's the fix. Okay, so talk about that in a second. Yeah, we found support here, and let me move this line. I don't have a need for that one. Around the buyer's news came in, that supported news. We had demand from back over here on Wednesday, March 20th. Yesterday, we saw a bounce up almost to the 50 fib, 50% fib. Didn't quite hit that line right on the nose. These things are always subjective, like where do you draw these, you know? It seems like a pretty clear move, or do you start from this candle? I don't know, but pretty much to the 50-point fib. Yesterday, we kept trying to attempt a trade at the bottom here to catch a move up to 52.53. One of my targets was going to be 52.58, and it would have hit, but every time I kept buying, it kept stopping me out down here, and one of them I should have just held, just because based on what the market's just going up and down before it finally makes a move, which is different from a lot of times that we were trading on scalping. So you have to think of more intraday move. So with that said, I should have just put my stop loss. It was under here at one point. I had got in at 37. If I had just held that trade, it would have hit my take profit at 52.58 at the first fib level. It's really hard sometimes to put levels in here. The first one was 52.53, but it didn't really have a good sense of that I could actually get some more profit by going to 58. It would have worked. Just follow that plan. So otherwise it ended up being a down day for me because I wasn't following that. All right, so we're waiting to see a buyer step in. We're looking at the VIX. The VIX is taking some movement up. The VIX is above 1480. Usually there was a lot of pressure on the downside. If it drops below this 1480.85, if I'm following Carmine and Dylan, usually they will noticing the trend that if it's dropping below the 1485 level, then likely market's going to move, be little less volatile, and there are big movements and a little less downside pressure. So moves to the downside are less likely. If it drops below, dips are usually getting bought up. Up here, it looks like there could be good continuation. The dips continue, but it has to break through that level we're talking about, which is the 52.44 to 34 in this zone here. Despite all that downside pressure, it's still held up well. All right, let's go back to Bookmap. we're just going to keep an eye on what Bookmap is telling us, and let that dictate to us where we're going to go, and we'll go from there. There is a good amount of news coming out. Let's see. We have PMI coming out, the final services PMI. Baltic, oh, that's already went. So we already had non-farm employment change come out at a little bit earlier before market open. We have ISM services PMI and at 7, which is 10 Eastern Standard Time. We have Powell that's going to speak, and that's going to be around noon on Eastern, 9.
Sweep ESM for CME buyers at
quite a few things that
5,255.5.
could potentially move this market. Definitely a lot of strong buying out of the gate. All this positive delta. And then we have a book following it. A lot of interest. Interest doesn't always show true intent unless they stay on the book. So you have book moving up and then it moves back down as the price moves down. So the actual intent is not being real shown yet, but we do have liquidity around that's available. So with this strong a move, I would be looking at that 50% fib level from that drop, which was 52.65 would be 50%. A lot of times if there's a strong move, there'll be a reload of that move at around the halfway point retracement. So I have that marked around 52.65. So I'm looking for the market, unless it tells me something differently with the structure, 52.65. If we find resistance there, we find sellers coming back in, going back short. I'm definitely not going long right now. We still have a real indication, and we're already starting to find sellers on the other side with this absorption.
Sweep ESM for CME buyers at 5,255.25.
But we have a lot of strength. We have a lot of strength on the buy side right now. So some strong activity as far as people actually showing true intent on the book. Here on the sell side of the order book. It's a lot of little interesting thing going on. There's somebody that they're just pulling in and out of their contracts right now. A little spoofing going on. I know Bookmap has like the iceberg indicator. I don't really think I need to see that. I mean, it's pretty expensive to add on a monthly indicator on that, but I think it could be useful. But you kind of can see it visually if you're watching.
Sweep ESM for CME sellers at 5,253.25.
So yeah, a little bit frustrating yesterday. Still growing in my trading. If I would have followed my plan, it would have worked out. That's a good thing. Negative thing is I didn't always follow my plan. Or key thing though is just the trading conditions are different right now of late than they were maybe even several weeks ago. So we're finding ourselves in a lot of holding patterns, consolidation, long-term consolidation. And so you almost have to trade a little bit more intraday style than scalping, or go for super small scalps. So my targets have been usually a little too far out, and then they keep moving back. I'll move my stop loss to break even or a little bit above as I'm like 7-8 points in the positive, and then it would trigger, and then I'll show the entry, confirmation entry again, get in, you know, sometimes take a small loss. Another time it would go, again, short of my target, come back, only get a 1 point. So I'm getting these little scenarios where I'm getting 1 or 2 point gains, but I'm getting 2-3 point losses. Either I have to just stay in it, the trade, when I want a low risk trade like I did. I got in the 37s yesterday and it would have hit 58 if I just let it go and not worry about the bounces and just stepped away. So I got to change my mentality and my focus in these conditions. So that's the key, just changing. I'm still very confident in what I'm doing because I found out that, you know, hey, my entry at 52.37 would have worked out fantastically. It was pretty much just a few points short of the bottom yesterday, and it did retrace back up into the 60s actually. So retrace back into the 60s, but yeah, if you don't take the trade, it doesn't matter. It's just building more confidence in me, in myself, in my own trading plan by seeing it happen the way I was hoping it would happen. The issue is all the up and downs and the roller coaster mentally and psychologically that is extremely exhausting, especially when you're trying to use more scalping techniques and trying to read the market immediately. You're like, oh, this thing's finding resistance, which we were finding resistance early.
Sweep ESM for
really
CME buyers at 5,255.25.
I'm finding a lot of resistance. Let's just get out. And I would have, you know, got 5 or 6 point gains. Wouldn't have hit my target for a while, but then I could have waited for it to drop back down in my zone, taking it back out, take it another 5.6 point gain, or do the intraday strategy. You have to change it, because right now, normally, I follow a lot of Carmine Rosado and his style. Normally you can get in a trade, it's moving 10 points in your favor almost immediately after you're getting in, and it's just not been happening lately. Very few times it's going 10 or more points without there being a lot of choppiness along the way. except for the overnight sessions. I mean, if you can trade overnight, I mean, there's been some moves on the overnight session, except for last night. They're definitely skewed to the buy side still. I mean, but you know, you have these clean sweeps up, and then now we're no longer interested. Find liquidity, come back down, and bounce around. So we got a big consolidation range up in here in the 56 to 52. And there was some news that came out again. And that was final services PMI, medium impact, no change in forecast or expectations, so shouldn't be impactful. These FOMC speeches and stuff, those can, for some reason, they're so unpredictable. It's like wild cards. Say one word and the market just goes in a frenzy one way or another. PMI comes out in about 13 minutes. Impactful news. So sometimes the biggest move is going to be on when Fed Chair Powell speaks. When he speaks, that's where we're going to see this market just
Sweep
go
ESM
crazy.
for CME buyers at 50 to 57.
Still got a raspy voice, working on getting over a cold. I don't know what it is. It's been the longest cold that I've had in a long time. It's lingering congestion. But I've talked to a lot of people. They've struggling with this. I don't know if it's like some strain variation going around, but I've never had like this level of chest congestion like continue for this long. So I still feel like I'm talking underwater.
Sweep ESM for CME sellers at 5,253.25.
Let's check Discord and see if yeah, he's not in anything. We are in a range for sure.
Sweep ESM for CME sellers at 5,253.5.
So NASDAQ is an important level. NASDAQ is at, finding some support here at a level it found support at 18,240 and 18,200. It found support, so it's bouncing off of that. Nvidia is down over about 0.5% already. It's kind of been struggling off the highs. VIX is up though. VIX is up over 1530, which is usually a sign there could be some downside pressure, continuation of downside pressure, because that's kind of the intraday trend right now. Is we're a little bit been nothing but up except for the last couple days. Yeah. All right, I'll be back. Nothing much else to say right now. I'm just going to be watching the market, see if it goes into one of my levels, 58, 59, 60 range. Actually, I'm looking for 65. I believe that's where I was on my fib level. So yeah, I'm looking 63, 65, 66 range, 63 to 66. If we find seller step in there. Otherwise, we're just range bound. So I'm going to hang out. I'll hop in, comment here and there, but I'm just going to be watching the charts at this moment.
Sweep ESM for CME buyers at 50 to 57. Sweep ESM for CME sellers at 5,254.5. Sweep ESM for CME sellers at 5,254.25. Sweep ESM for CME buyers at 50 to 56. Sweep ESM for CME buyers at 5,261.25.
Pushing the market, really charging it
Sweep
up here.
ESM for CME buyers at 5,263.5. Sweep ESM for CME buyers at 5,262.25.
51.4 instead of 52.8.
Sweep ESM for CME buyers at 5,265.5. Sweep ESM for CME buyers at 50 to 65. Sweep ESM for CME buyers at 5,265.5. Sweep ESM for CME buyers at 50 to 67.
Consolidation. It's having consolidation between 52.53 to 52.57.
Sweep ESM for CME buyers at
65 was my level too. It's right about
5,266.75.
that Fibonacci 65. Now it's like, is it going to find resistance there? I know we got a lot of strong buying still.
Sweep ESM for CME buyers at 50 to 67. Sweep ESM for CME sellers at 5,267.75. Sweep ESM for CME buyers at 5,268.5. Sweep ESM for CME buyers at 5,269.5. Sweep ESM for CME buyers at
Definitely one of the more convincing moves we've
5,271.75.
seen in the last week or so. I mean, normally the news is just super choppy, a lot of volatility,
Sweep ESM for
still
CME
sticks
sellers at
within
50
a
to
8-point
71.
range. I mean, we've gone from 54 to 70, so 16, 17, 18 points now, almost 20 points in this move off of news.
Sweep
So
ESM for CME buyers at 50 to 72.
Definitely buyers are liking it. When we've reached a day that negative news is good news to the market.
Sweep ESM for CME sellers at 5,271.25.
You know you got issues economically when news is backwards from how the market reacts to it.
Sweep ESM for CME sellers at 5,271.25.
Resistance here, but man, it's not at my level. It's kind of outside my level right now. So I'm just going to be patient. Just got to let the market come to you. I wouldn't want to be long here. I feel like it's overextended. Starting to find some resistance up in here. Lack of interest, more exhaustion than absorption. By the way, if you're wondering absorption, exhaustion, icebergs, all this stuff, Bookmap has a lot of really good videos that explain each one of these topics. There's a beginner's video that visually really helps you understand what's going on. If you're new and you really want to understand what's happening behind, so you really understand that, it was helpful for me. They're series 1 videos on, the recent bid and ask, how it moves and lowers the market. So, yeah, I would recommend some of their free resources that they have on some of the videos, educational videos. Not only going to help you understand Bookmap, but just the market in general and how it works.
Sweep ESM for CME buyers at 50 to 71. Sweep ESM for CME sellers at 5,270.75. Sweep ESM for CME buyers at 5,272.5. Sweep ESM for CME buyers at 5,272.5.
Right, I'm just gonna get off camera for a bit.
Sweep ESM for CME buyers at 5,273.25. Sweep ESM for CME buyers at 5,273.75. Sweep ESM for CME sellers at 50 to 70. Sweep ESM for CME sellers at 5,269.25. Sweep ESM for CME sellers at 5,267.75. Sweep ESM for CME buyers at 50 to 68. Sweep ESM for CME buyers at 5,266.25. Sweep ESM for CME sellers at 5,265.75. Sweep ESM for CME sellers at 5,265.25. Sweep ESM for CME buyers at 50 to 72. Sweep ESM for CME buyers at 5,274.75. Sweep ESM for CME buyers at 5,275.75. Sweep ESM for CME sellers at 5,273.5. Sweep ESM for CME sellers at 5,273.5. Sweep ESM for CME sellers at 50 to 74. Sweep ESM for CME sellers at 5,273.75. Sweep ESM for CME buyers at 5,275.75. Sweep ESM for CME sellers at 5,275.25. Sweep ESM for CME sellers at 50 to 75. Sweep ESM for CME buyers at 5,276.5. Sweep ESM for CME sellers at 5,276.25. Sweep ESM for CME sellers at 5,273.5.